Shalom, shalom. Just want to take this time out on this beautiful Sabbath day while it's closing out in order to address a certain situation. First of all, I want to give thanks to the Father, most definitely, YaHaWaShi, for giving me the opportunity to hold and to present your name, your will, your way, your fame, your glory. Hashem HaMashiach, YaHaWaShi, Ruvain Barakatah, Ruach HaKadosh. Today I'm addressing a situation or a topic that I've been seeing a lot of individuals talk about lately. They've been talking about or questioning whether the Savior was an Ephraimite or was the Savior from a Judea or from the bloodline of Judah, like the word says. Salati. And with that being said, we look into different areas of the beliefs or the understandings that individuals have. And some people are actually, they just don't know, while other people, they have drawn to the conclusion that the Savior is an Ephraimite, which we'll take a look into that and we'll actually see. Now, when the Savior or YaHaWaShi or Yahshua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod, he was born in Bethlehem, Judea of Herod. Now, David, Salafi, excuse me. Now, David was the son of an Ephraimite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time, he was very old. But anyway, that's beside the point. Now, we're going to draw attention to right here, Salafi, that David was the son of an Ephraimite named Jesse, an Ephraimite. Shouldn't I say Judaic, or from the bloodline of Judah, or instead of Ephraimite? Now, if you get individuals that take that word, Ephraimite, that's the main word right there that individuals are drawn off of, or whether it's and they're saying that they just don't know. They thought he was from the bloodline of Judah. Then they look and they read this, and then they get misconstrued and think that he's from the bloodline of Ephraim, and it's an Ephraimite. So they say that he's from the bloodline of Ephraim. All right, now let's go look at this. We're going to take a small breakdown. And step by step, I'm going to try to make this quick. This is the genealogy of our Savior right here. HaMashiach, YaHaWaShi, Yahshua. The book of Genesis of YaHaWaShi, or Yahshua, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judas, which is Judah, and his brethren, meaning of the 12 tribes of Israel. And Judah begot Perez. Judah got a son named Perez, and Zorah, another son of Zorah, of Tamar. Now, Tamar is another wife of Judah, but technically wasn't his wife, but we'll get to that. All right, Tamar, I can actually say it. Tamar was Judah's daughter-in-law. She was his daughter-in-law, but she had no children because of the children or her husbands passed away, and Judah promised us his youngest son, Shelah, and Shelah wasn't old enough to give Tamar a child at the time. So when he did become of age, Judah still, didn't allow him to father a child as a kindred to Tamar. But in Perez, we got Hezron, and Hezron is actually Hezron. And Hezron we got Ram or Aram, and Aram we got Abinadab. Abinadab. And it goes on through the particular lineage. Aaron begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nason, and Nason begot Solomon, and Solomon begot Boaz or Rechab, and Boaz begot Obed and of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David, the king. The king. And like I said before, it goes down, and this is in the book of Matthew. Chapter 1, verse 6, and Jesse begot King David, and it's going all the way down into the generations. Even after Babylonian captivity, they was brought back or came back. Then Joshua, who was called the Christ, was born through the bloodline of Jacob. Through the bloodline of Jacob. So that would still make him a Judean. He's from the bloodline, or it says here, the word says here, that he's through the bloodline of Judah. So therefore, from reading this, it's not saying that he's from Ephraim, but we take another step and then we look at how they mention he's an Ephraimite, and an Ephraimite is you had, like I said before, that's where you get in confusion, and you're getting other people or people that's saying that they think that he's an Ephraimite because of them being called Jesse, the Ephraimite, David, the Ephraimite. But like I said before, we will get to that. So then we go to here, Perez, and this is telling the story of we have here Genesis 38, Judah and Tamar. And this is telling the story of how, what I mentioned earlier about Judah, his daughter-in-law, Tamar. And he gave it to but passed away, and then she called his name, hold on. And Judah saw their daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shah. And he took her and went unto her, and she conceived and bare a son. And he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called him Onan. And she yet conceived and bare a son, and called him Shelah, or Shelah. And he was at Chizib when she bare him. That's the location. All right, so like I said before, Judah took on to his wife, or took Tamar and gave her to his son Now, and was wicked, and the father took her. So then Judah said unto Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her and raise up a seed for thy, to thy brother. So Onan, he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and in fact, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground. Least that he should have given seed to his brother. So again, and he wasn't pleasing, and therefore Yahweh slew him. He died. And like I said, Shelah, my son, be grown. All right, but right here, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah, my son, be grown. So basically, when he did get old enough, um he didn't give Shalley over to or to go be a kinsman to Tamar, his daughter-in-law. So she tricked him. And this is going through the paragraph or the story of when, or the scenario of when Tamar tricked Judah and played a harlot. So then Tamar, thy daughter, and then people came to him, to Judah. And when they came, Salathia, and when they came to Judah, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying by the man, whose these are? Am I with child? And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet and the bracelet and the staff. And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah, my son, or Shalley, my son. And he knew her again no more. All right, so now that's proof of showing that she's pregnant with Perez. And it came to pass in the time of travel that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she traveled that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet with thread, saying, this came out first. And it came to pass that as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out. And she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Perez. His name was called Perez. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. So now you have Perez and Zerah. Now, Perez and Zerah, just pointing out that that's part of Judah's bloodline. That's part of where the Messiah, the HaMashiach, your Savior, is coming from. Now we're going into, why would they call him Ephraimite? And the journey from Bethlehem, and there was but a little way to come to Ephraim, a little way to come to Ephraim. And Rachel traveled, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said unto her, fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass, as her soul was departed, she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. And Rachel died. And those names have particular meanings. That's why he changed it. One is not good and the other one's good. All right. And Jacob set a pillar upon, and Rachel died and was buried in the way of Ephraim, which is Bethlehem, which is Bethlehem. And this is in the time of Jacob and Rachel. So just saying that Ephraim wasn't even thought of yet. Ephraim was not even thought of yet, not even a little bit. So Ephraim, which is Bethlehem, already existed before Ephraim. All right, let's go on a little further. Told you I don't want to keep you here all day with this presumption or false assumption. All right, so Perez fathered two sons, Hezron and Hamul, and became the ancestral leader of the Perizzites clan. The family was well respected, as evidenced by the blessing pronounced at the wedding of Boaz and Ruth. Then the elders and all of the people standing at the gate replied, We are witnesses. May Yahweh make this woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, for whom all the nations of Israel descended. You got to bless them to be just like, just work, not worship, but just to be on the same level as to say that, yes, I have another descendant. That's all people that's coming about. That's going to be very, very important to Israel. Witness. May you prosper in Ephraim and be famous in Bethlehem. May you prosper in Ephraim and be famous in Bethlehem. And may Yahweh give you descendants by this young woman who will be like those of our ancestors, Perez, the son of Tamar and Judah. Okay, before I bounce a little bit from this particular site, like I said, I want to make this quick. Prosper in Ephraim, prosper in Ephraim, the family, and be famous in Bethlehem, the land. People will know you. Now, like I said before, some people just don't know. Some people just don't know. So here we have a little, I guess, a little blog or post or whatever by the apologetics of the Testament. They do research and they give their theologies. In 1 Samuel, David is said to be an Ephraimite. I thought he was a Judite or Judeite. Is that a mixed lineage? Are those two lineages connected in some way I don't understand? David is the first king in the line of Judea or Judah, right? The beginning of the fulfillment of Genesis 49, right? Then they gave an answer. Doing a word search of Ephraim, I found that it was an alternate name for Bethlehem in Genesis 35:19. But also distinguished in some way for Bethlehem in Ruth 1 and in Ruth 1, 2, 4, and 11. It is often the case that a town or area is named after a person of honor. It is often the case that a town or area is named for a person of honor. Perhaps there was an Ephraim found, an Ephraim who founded Bethlehem, or part of the town was considered populated by his lineage, by his lineage. So reading this by some guys named Ephraim, his lineage. It became a title for the people like David's ancestors, Naomi, and thus attached itself to him or attached to him. The name seems to have been attached to Bethlehem, Judah Bethlehem before Judah was born, even before Judah was born. Makes sense makes sense. Genesis 35:19. Or else it is a name that can be that came to be associated with Bethlehem after that was being read back into the text in Genesis to identify for current readers, meaning that, maybe they changed it and they said it again just so you can understand that, or relating back Bethlehem and Ephraim. So technically he doesn't know. So now I go to this particular site, and these particular scholars of this particular site, if you want to know any of my links or anything like that, take time out to pause it, and you can look right there. And you pause it, and then that way you'll be able to see, I guess, or you'll be able to see what link I went to, then you can go and retrieve these same passages or these same sites. All right, I go to here. These people have they're identifying the tribe of Ephraim. The tribe of Ephraim bordered descriptions. All right, so they're telling the geographical locations of Ephraim. Of the 12 tribes of Israel, none symbolize the struggle between flesh and spirit more pungently than the tribe of Ephraim. At one moment, rebuke, and at the next, praise. Ephraim was never far from the Father's watchful eye. In fact, Ephraimites, not Ephraimites or Ephrathah, Ephraimites seem to be at the center of many of Israel's most historical before Ephraim or during the time of Ephraim and the great battles that was taken along. Ephraim's bloodline was there. Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, Ephraim was there. And the Ephraimites seem to be at the center of many of Yisrael's most historical moments, drawing a mixture of both wrath and praise. So, Ephraimite, a member of the Hebrew tribe of Ephraim, a member of the Hebrew tribe of Ephraim, an Ephraimite, a member of the Hebrew tribe of Ephraim, a native or inhabitant of the biblical northern kingdom of Israel. Ephrathites, not an Ephraimite, an Ephrathite were descendants of Ephraim who lived in or around the city of Bethlehem, which was also called Ephrath. Okay, Ephrathites were descendants of Ephrath. There go that name again, Ephrath. I'm not finding Ephrath, but of the bloodline of Judah, which is true. So people are calling them Ephrathites or Ephrathites, and they're getting it confused with the Ephraimite. Ephrathites, they're two totally different people. All right, now go on here. Ephrathite, anyone who lives in or around Bethlehem, which is located in the purple, the land of Judah. Ephraimite are located in the northern area of Israel. Ephraimite, a native or inhabitant of the biblical northern kingdom of Israel, which is here. So you see, you have Ephraim right here. So then it draws my conclusion. Again, I'm looking for the Ephrath. Who is Ephrath? All right, so now we look, the sons of Hezron, Jeremiah, Ram, and Caleb. All right, so now we have them. And we look here. This is the bloodline of Judah. This is Tamar. This is Bethshua. And Bethshua, Onan, and then Sheila. Tamar, Perez, and Zerah. So these are the sons of Zerah. And then we have the sons of Perez, Hezron, here. Now, Hezron has Jeremiah, Ram, and Caleb. Jeremiah, Ram, and Caleb. So then out of Caleb, you see Ram's bloodline of the son of Hezron, Ram's bloodline leads to Jesse, which is Judah. Ram's bloodline leads through Judah. Jesse, father of David, King David. Then you have Caleb, or Caleb, son of Caleb, and then he had 3 sons, Jasher, Shabab, and Adon, by Azar, and also, Zuba, and then also had a daughter, Jeriah. But then you have another wife here, wife number 2. You have wife number 1, Azuba, wife number 2, Ezra, or Ezra. So he had a son, Then we look, who is Caleb? Get a little more information on this Caleb character. Originally from the same as Caleb, definition, a son of Jephunneh, and sent by Moses to spoil, sent by Moses to spy out the land. And so basically Caleb was one of the ones that was like this, along with Joshua, this land is good. Like the father said, let's go take it. You know, he had faith in what the father was telling him. So now we know who Caleb is. So now we look at right here, Ephraim, or Aratha, Ephraim, second wife of Caleb, mother of And when Azubah was dead, Caleb took to him Ephraim, which bore him And in 1 Chronicles 4:4, and Peniel, the father of Gedor, and Ezer, the father of Hashah. These are the sons of the firstborn of Ephrathah, the father of Bethlehem. And Peniel, the father of Gedor, and Ezer, the father of Hashah. These are the sons of the firstborn of Ephrathites, the father of Bethlehem. So basically, named Bethlehem. So therefore, now David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judea. The son of David is the Ephrathite, meaning he was born around Bethlehem. He was a resident, straight up resident there of Bethlehem, who was born in Bethlehem, located in Judea. All right, so now let's give it, we have the clearance of now, Ephrathite. He's being called an Ephrathite because named Bethlehem first, Ephrath. And now it's also known as Ephrath, Bethlehem, and Judah. Now YaHaWaShi was born in Bethlehem of Judea. He was born, the Savior, our Savior, YaHaWaShi was born in Ephrath, Judea, Ephrath of Judea, Bethlehem of Judea. In the days of King Herod, behold, there came wise men from the east of Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are coming to worship him. When Herod the king heard these things, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. Everybody was shook by this. And when he had gathered all of the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, in Bethlehem. He's going to be born in Ephraim of Judea, of the bloodline of Judah. Hear what I'm saying? Of the bloodline of Judah. For this it is written by the prophets. And thou, Bethlehem, a place in the land of Judea, are not the least among the princes of Judah. You're still of Judah. You're not of the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Should I read it? Or all right. And Herod the king heard these things. He was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all of the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for this is written by the prophets. And thou, Bethlehem, and thou, Bethlehem, and thou place Bethlehem in the land of Judah, are not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee, out of Judah, shall come a governor that shall rule my people of Israel. That shall rule my people of Israel. So, with that being said, the father, let's do a brief recap. Jesse, the Ephraimite of Bethlehem, Judah, was basically a born citizen of Judah. So anybody living or born from the land of Bethlehem, they were in Judah. Bethlehem located in Judea, a specific location. You were already considered an Ephraimite, but they were still under the lineage of King David. Still the lineage of the chosen bloodline, or the ruling bloodline, Judah. So therefore, when the Savior came about, YaHaWaShi was born. He was born in Bethlehem of the land of Judah, in the land of Judah. It's the same. It's him transferring over. He's still of the bloodline of Judah. They recognized him as an Ephraimite because to them, if you were born near or near in the area of Bethlehem, which was also known Ephrathah or Ephraim, then basically you were known as an Ephraimite, not an Ephraimite. Ephrathite, Ephraimite. Ephraim, that's Joseph, Manasseh, Ephraim did not exist at the time that Bethlehem was called Ephrathah, or Ephrath. Ephrath was named or called, Bethlehem was called Ephrath before it was called Bethlehem and before Ephraim was even thought of. Hopefully I gave some edification on this one. Most definitely like, subscribe. It helps out the frequency. It shows love. Check out my other videos of Father's true name, YaHaWa. Most definitely, Thawadah YaHaWa, for giving me the opportunity to get here today in order to profess your name, your glory, your fame, and spread. He who has an ear, let him hear. He who has an ear, let them hear. Don't let ignorance draw you on to now you want to change the Savior from being a Judean to an Ephraimite, when actually he's not an Ephraimite, he's an Ephrathite from Bethlehem, Judah. Ephrathite. He's still from the bloodline of Judah, but he was born in Ephrath. So therefore, Ephrath is actually Ephrath, which is actually Bethlehem. Not from Ephraim, but from Judah. for Judah or Judea. He was a Judean from Israel of the land of Judea, the land of Bethlehem. With that, most definitely, I think I'm gonna close out now. Shema Yisrael, YaHaWaShi Ephraimite, YaHaWaShi Echad, Ve'ahavta YaHaWa Elohaicha, Ve'chol Ve'ahavka, Uvchol Neshecha, Uvchol Mehodecha, Et lo Yachalat Latir. Most definitely stay blessed, stay prayed up, stay with the truth. Don't be led by deception. Most definitely, the Savior is from the bloodline of Judah. The Savior, HaMashiach, YaHaWaShi, is from the bloodline of Judah. Yahshua, YaHaWaShi, YaHaWaShi is from the bloodline of Judah. With that, stay blessed, stay prayed up, and stay good. Peace.